Ladies and gentlemen, soon you will see an MH-60 Black Hawk helicopter returning to pick up the assaulters from the barge. They will use the Special Patrol Insertion and Extraction System to depart the area. This system is used for extracting personnel from areas where helicopters cannot land, such as dense jungle, aboard vessels at sea, and from atop buildings in urban areas.
People wondering why these blacked out helicopters have been flying around the valley. The Department of Defense is conducting training exercises, trying to get military personnel certified in urban operations. Urban operations.
I mean, they were very close to the buildings. They were at different levels. They were at top of it. They would come down to the bottom part of it. You know, or middle way, I guess you'd say.
Our viewers called in describing men with automatic weapons hanging out of helicopters. Fox Chicago's Mike Flannery reports on this developing story live from Lakeshore Drive tonight. Mike?
Well, Bob, about 90 seconds ago, two choppers came zooming right up the Chicago River here, close enough almost for us to touch them.
And they were lower than my building, in between the towers, so that did make me slightly paranoid. I text my husband, who's in the military, or was in the military, asking if this was alarming because I could see what color of clothing they were wearing. It was frightening. I was definitely alarmed.
We received a ton of phone calls from worried neighbors wondering what was going on. Well, Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willey is live to explain what it was. Jessica?
Yeah, Dave, it was frightening for sure, and to some at nearby Roberts Elementary, so unexpected that the school was locked down for a short time until everyone realized it was a drill. With military helicopters flying above her southeast Houston neighborhood, Frances Gerald didn't know what to think.
You know, when you see this, you think the worst. Right. When you hear this, you think the worst.
And so she passed along her concern.
She told me, don't come home because it sounds like we're in a war zone. Guns shooting and helicopters flying around over the house.
Turns out it was a multi-agency training drill that Gerald wished would have come with warning.
They could have done a better job at notifying the neighborhood.
Others needed no explanation.
If it's to protect our kids, I'm all for it. If it's to protect our kids, I'm all for it.
There was apparently a drill at Carnegie Elementary School yesterday. It was a Department of Defense activity, and they used the empty school to do that. Councilmember, I was not aware of it. Apparently, not everyone in the Houston Police Department was aware of it.
Training sites that the military has been using over the past few days. In this video from Sky 2 last night, you can see dramatic military maneuvers by Special Operations Forces over the sky of downtown LA. Our camera captured a Black Hawk helicopter and 4 other so-called OH-6s flying over the city. The Black Hawk hovered over the U.S. Bank building before it made a practice drop-off at a nearby park. At one point, our camera captured a soldier sitting with his legs dangling outside the chopper. We talked to one expert who said all this training probably was a dry run for a future mission.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good afternoon again, everyone. I'm David Muir at ABC News headquarters in New York. We told you we would come back on the air as soon as we learn more about that incident unfolding at LAX Airport in Los Angeles, and we have learned more at this hour. We know it all began to unfold about 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Of course, that's about 12:30 here in the East. A shooting incident at Terminal 3 at LAX. We do know that the shooter himself has been taken into custody, we are told. We also believe that a TSA officer was shot by that suspect.
Unfortunately, it involved an officer-involved shooting, but that's what needed to be done in that particular situation, and that was heroic. We practiced to this not more than 3 weeks ago. A couple hundred officers from the Los Angeles Police Department, and we practiced the exact scenario that played out today. And we practiced the exact scenario that played out today.
It was a strange sight in the skies over Los Angeles. Our station KCBS TV sent these pictures of LAPD and military special forces. LAPD and military special forces flying a practice mission last night.
And we practiced the exact scenario that played out today.
It can be quite alarming. We counted them, 7 Black Hawks thundered across downtown Miami. And we're going to take a pause here so you can listen in, so you can appreciate what it sounded like to be there. A rare sight indeed to see these Blackhawks weaving in between downtown Miami buildings. And what I can tell you, what we know, is that this was a joint military drill with the Department of Defense and Miami-Dade County Police. The rest, we are told, is classified.
On the intelligence community, you know, selling weapons to whatever country. I know the country, but in other words, they were doing work for the joint under the table all these years.
Okay, and directly under whose instructions to sell these weapons? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, who would that be?
Well, it's the Israeli Zionist group in New York.
Mossad? No.
Well, yeah, but everybody thinks Mossad, like they think CIA is just a bogus sort of thing. It's really Army intelligence.
So why do you think I should work for the National Security Agency?
Well, you'd be working on the cutting edge. You'd be exposed to the kind of technology that you wouldn't see anywhere else because we've classified it. Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithms.
Code breaking.
Well, that's one aspect of what we do.
Oh, come on. I mean, that is what you do. You guys handle 80% of the intelligence workload. You're 7 times the size of the CIA.
We don't like to brag about that, Will. But you're exactly right.
NSA is the civilian component of what we know as NSA. The Central Security Service is the military component of what we know as NSA. So when I say NSA, I usually mean both. Right? It's about 60% civilian, 40% military. And so the military itself is participating in this activity to help support the military. And the several ways that NSA supports the military would be the following. One, we provide information to decision makers, sometimes in the executive branch, sometimes in the other branches of government, but provide information that helps them make thoughtful choices about the nation's future. In some cases, helps them understand when and where to commit the military to ensure that that's done in a way that is most appropriate to the military's role. We are not the policymakers, but we help inform the policymakers so that they can make the right commitments at the right time. If and when we commit the military in harm's way or other activities that are suited for the military, we provide operational information in real time to the military so that they might understand their opportunities, their challenges, their threats, and again, succeed in their mission. And then finally, NSA has an active role in training the military that comes to us, that lives inside our organizations, so that they might then be good at those roles that I've just described, and they might then have future roles elsewhere in the military that benefit from the technical training they might have here.
Wiretaps without warrants, surveillance of everyone. Who's in charge and who's watching the watchers? Will anything change? And does this massive spending actually make America more secure? In a democracy forced to choose between rights and security.
I welcome this debate. I think it's a sign of maturity.
And so do we, because this is empire. In 2013, Edward Snowden revealed that America's National Security Agency was listening in on, well, everybody. Everyone was shocked, deeply shocked, not really. In 1988, Duncan Campbell revealed that the NSA listening posts had risen into the sky. They were now satellite-based, and they had a new name, Echelon. Before anyone could get too shocked, 9/11 happened, and a pumped-up president stepped forward to tell America,
I vow to do everything in my power to prevent another attack on our nation.
The Bush administration seized the opportunity to reject all restraints and let slip the dogs of snooping. The head of the pack himself promised that
everything that NSA does is lawful and very carefully done.
For carefully, read secretly. No courts, no warrants, nothing to slow down the action. Anything's lawful if no one knows about it. Echelon was giving a new lease of life and a new name, SolarWind.
The Bush administration decided unilaterally it could engage in whatever electronic surveillance it wanted to.
People were shocked, deeply shocked.
So help me God.
So help me God. In 2007, Bush's Attorney General Alberto Gonzales claimed the program had been discontinued. People might not have really believed him, but it didn't seem to matter because the next year, America elected a new president with a completely different attitude to his predecessor.
This administration also puts forward a false choice between the liberties we cherish and the security we provide.
Under scrutiny, the new president's new ideals were backed by a new attorney general's reassurance that change really had come to America.
You are the attorney general. Is there any doubt in your mind that the warrantless wiretapping program was illegal?
The concerns that I expressed then have really been remedied.
Nothing had been remedied. Nothing had changed except Obama, whose policies had become Bush's. In 2012, William Binney, formerly the technical leader for intelligence in the NSA, revealed that the agency had indeed been spying on Americans and that all the major telecommunications companies were cooperating with them. There's something very odd here. The essence of what would be revealed in 2013 was already on the record, in public. Yet it passed without much fuss. But with Snowden, we were all shocked.
The State Department, because all the weapons sales under the table are going to the State Department.
More worries for Blackwater. Federal prosecutors are investigating allegations that employees of the private security firm may have been engaged in arms smuggling. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, Blackwater guards are back on the job today, protecting State Department employees, U.S. State Department employees, and operations had been suspended in the wake of a shooting involving Iraqi civilians.
Reports show that the U.S. government international security contractor, formerly known as Blackwater, has agreed to pay a $7.5 million fine to settle federal criminal charges related to arms smuggling and other crimes. Documents unsealed in a U.S. district court say the company, which is now called Academy, agreed to pay the fine as a part of a deferred prosecution agreement to settle 17 violations following a 5-year investigation. Those violations include possessing automatic weapons in the United States without registration, lying to federal firearm regulators about weapons provided to the King of Jordan, passing secret plans for armored personnel carriers to Sweden and Denmark without U.S. government approval, and illegally shipping body armor overseas. Federal prosecutors and law enforcement agents say the agreement settles a long and complex case against the company, which has held billions in U.S. security contracts in Iraq and Afghanistan.